Hey Art Nerds, we are going to walk through how to create a couch using one-point perspective. And one thing I do want to note is that your couch is very similar to an armchair, it's just wider, okay? Or when we draw it, it's going to end up being longer. So that's one thing to always keep in mind. And we start off each of our pieces of furniture, like everything else, is we start off with a cube or a prism base, and then we sort of cut away and add details to it as we keep moving forward. Now the first thing I want to do is I want to figure out how tall my object is going to be in relation to everything else in the space. So I'm just, estimating this is about 3.5 feet high, okay, because it's sort of a shorter couch. And my room is probably like 8 to 9 feet tall. So I actually made a mark for my 3.5 feet here already, okay? Because if I drew a line straight across here, this is about 4.5 feet, and then, or 4 feet, I don't know, I'm just guessing here. And then I just created an orthogonal where the height here to here, if I was actually in the space, would equal the height here to here, okay? And notice how this orthogonal gets bigger as it gets closer, because that's how perspective works, okay? So the next thing I want to do is I want to start creating out that prism, okay? And I'll have 6 faces just like normal, okay? This is the face of my object that's going to be towards me or closest to me, okay? And then I'm going to be building off and creating all the rest of it. So I'm going to create my couch as if it's touching this wall here and also this back wall, okay? So it's sort of in the corner. And the edge of my couch is approximately rectangular or maybe pretty close to square. If I could rotate it or move my body from this perspective to standing over here, I'd be able to see a very square type edge to my couch. So now what I want to do is I want to create some horizontal and vertical lines to create the edge of my piece of furniture that is going to be touching this back wall. Okay, so using my triangle, making sure I have things lined up to make my horizontal and verticals. I'm going to be using my triangle once again, but this time to create those orthogonals, to create the illusion that my object's coming towards me and getting bigger. So that's connecting each of my corners of my square on the back wall to my vanishing point, okay? And you can see how it's growing and coming closer, okay? The next thing I want to do is I want to figure out where my couch is going to stop, and I essentially need to have a vertical and a horizontal line to mark where this back of the couch stops and where the bottom of your couch stops. And I'm just going to pick about right here. If you move on with your drawing and you find out, yeah, it doesn't look quite wide enough to be a couch, you can always adjust these lines here and make it so you make a mark down here instead, okay? So it just really depends on what it looks like as you keep moving forward. So always keep that in mind. That's why we draw lightly in case we need to go backwards instead of forwards. Okay, creating a nice horizontal line to connect these two orthogonals just as they're connected to up here. And then I'll be finishing up with a vertical and a horizontal to finish the top edges of the rest of my couch. So you'll notice that this prism starts really taking shape here. There we go. And then connecting this last bit together. So this right here, this face is this on my couch, if you can imagine that. This edge right here is this front of my couch, okay? And notice how the way I drew it, this looks bigger than this and this looks smaller than that. That's okay because these two perspectives aren't the same. It's like I took my couch and I rotated it even more, okay, to make it look like it's coming here. All right, so the next thing I need to do is I'm going to, 1, erase the lines that I don't need, and number 2, I am going to kind of break up and break down my couch here with all the details that I kind of need. Oop, I'm going to keep this one just in case. I don't need my 3.5. Keeping your area clean makes it a lot easier and less confusing. Okay, when there's too many lines, you get kind of lost with how many there are. All right, so that should be good for the moment. Now what I want to notice is if I broke down my couch, what do I notice? Well, there is this gap between the bottom of my couch and the floor. Not all couches have that, but I'm going to include that on here because you can always just extend it so then this line goes straight across the bottom. That's the simple version of a couch. Okay, and I also notice that there is going to be a line going across right here dividing the base of the couch and the cushions. Then I'll have a line across the top of the cushions. So these are a bunch of orthogonal lines that I'm going to be creating right here. So let's get started. And I'm just going to make a guesstimate because my photo and my drawing are not going to be identical. So this is the space underneath my couch. And I notice that the height from under my couch to here is about the same as the thickness of the cushions and the thickness here. This section is just a hair thinner. So I can make each of these approximately the same size and it should work out just fine. I might make my cushions just a hair bigger so it's kind of a squishy couch. And that's my artistic liberty I'm going to be taking. Alright, so do you see that? There's the base of the couch. The space underneath the couch, the base of the couch, and the cushions. And I'm going to finish these so they wrap all the way around by going across to the next side. So lining this up on a vertical and then creating those next bits right here. So this is the space under the couch. Okay, I'm not going to need those details because notice how the cushion, I have this whole panel right here, so I don't see that side. So that's all I need, just the base of the couch right there. Well, good thing I didn't go too far ahead. And then notice how the top of this cushion, okay, we also need to get the top of the cushion going back towards the back of the couch and then going across here as well. So I'm going to need a nice horizontal line connecting the top of my cushion here with the back of the couch itself. Okay, so I'm just going to create a line all the way across. All right. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to create a thickness. See how there's a thickness to my couch here? There's a thickness here, and it's about the same all the way around the edges. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is I'm going to be creating a vertical line right here that identifies the thickness of this front part of my couch. Okay, and that's going to match up with this orthogonal right here. Okay, I'm going to erase these two so you can kind of see it and be able to match it. So there's the front edge of my couch, there's the front edge of my couch. Okay, do you see it? I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side, but remembering that as things go further away, they get smaller. So I can't have the thickness match here, okay? So I'm going to make it smaller, but I'm going to show you a trick, okay? If you have something that's going around all the sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by creating a horizontal line from this corner here towards the back of my chair, okay? So if I want this thickness to match this thickness, notice how it's thinner. That's just because the perspective changed. Okay. Now the next thing I want to do is I want this side to be just as thick. So I try to create one where the thickness here to here matches the thickness up here. Okay. See how the thickness is pretty close? I'm going to erase the crisscross that I don't need. And then now I have an idea about how thick it needs to be over here, which is fairly thin across this edge. And then I can go back and erase my little bits that I'm not going to need. Okay, now I'm going to kind of go over the outlines just a little bit so you can see it just a hair better. There you go. Alright, so all that I have left to do is to really solidify where these lines are, get the divide in my cushions, and then also get those legs on there, okay? So I'm going to quick get that divide in the cushions, and once again, I just want to create something where it's a little bit smaller back here than it is up here. And I'm actually going to use this line that was originally for my floor, since I know it's a horizontal line. It's about in the right spot. And then I'm going to drop straight down with a vertical line here, okay? And I'm actually going to highlight these so you can really see those cushions. Do you see them? And then they grow back towards the back side of the couch, okay? Then you have the front of my couch here, so this is actually a curve, so I'm just curving instead of having a sharp edge. Goes all the way down, recreating that here. Nice curve, nice curve. And when we actually create our drawings, we do not want to have these super dark lines that I'm adding here. This is so you can really see which lines I'm going to be saving, because it really comes together when you can see the lines a little bit better, because the video does not do it justice. And the last thing that we're going to do is we are going to get those legs onto my couch here. Okay, do you see how that couch, see how that came together? Not too shabby. So what you're going to do to create these little legs, okay, because they're going to be essentially tiny little prisms, okay, so like mini basic cube thingies. So I want to start with creating what is facing me, okay, and I'm just going to freehand them because I can draw a semi-straight line for that short distance. I want to keep them about the same. Now, you're going to create the illusion that they have a front side to them, so you need a little bit of an orthogonal, so I kept that one there from before, and then a line going straight down. Okay, and I'm just going to kind of wing it on that orthogonal there. If you want to measure, go for it. Okay, and then doing the same thing up here. This one I just see the orthogonal first, and then I have a little bit that's going straight back. Okay, and that's essentially how that's going to look like when you construct it on this side of the room. Okay, a couple more examples for you so you can see what the couch looks like, how it's so much different when you see the front of it. Notice how I focused on getting the front. You don't see the side at all, okay, and you can see a lot more of the cushion. And this basically looks like a flip-flop of what we had over here. Okay, so that's essentially how you are going to be putting together something like a couch. There are some couches that have a little bit more curves in the back, or you're going to throw some cushions on there, which you can almost just like sketch on your, here's a pillow, boom, pillows added. Okay, those are some things that you can sort of freehand add to it without focusing too much on perspective. Okay, that's all I have for these couches for you. I hope that this was helpful. Check out my other videos.